Welcome to the John Freakin' Muir Pod. Lace up those boots and sling on the pack for a romp through trails, short and long. With your host and Renaissance man, Doc. It's time to embrace the suck.
Welcome back to another week on the trail, dirtbags and hiker trash. I'm Doc, and this is the John Freakin' Muir Pod. Let's start off with a reminder. If you are enjoying the podcast, take just a minute to help us out. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. And if you're not enjoying the pod, well, just go ahead and keep that to yourself. This week, we are heading back out onto the trail. This time, though, we are focusing on the PCT with one of our listeners who took the plunge and attempted to do the entire 2,650 miles from Mexico to Canada. Welcome to the John Freakin' Muir Pod, Joey Mascarenas. How's it going, Joey?
Good, Doc. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and you say us
Excellent.
because I noticed you've got a sidekick there. Did you pick somebody up on the trail?
I think she picked me up on the trail, essentially. But yeah, we met on trail. This is Crunch.
Yeah, Crunch. Nice to meet everyone. There's a little bit of pink blazing to make that happen, but yeah.
Okay. I didn't say that, but she did.
Now we go by trail names here on the podcast, so I'm happy to hear you have one. Crunch, is that spelled with a K or with a C?
With a C.
With a C.
C-R-U-H, yeah.
Okay, all your formal documents you sign with a C.
Oh yeah. Starts with a C.
Yeah.
Got it. And Crunch, how did you pick up your trail name? Where does that come from?
Originally it happened because they stayed at the Mount Laguna Lodge. I hope they don't get mad for me dogging on them. But I was telling some other hikers, later down the trail, that I stayed there, and the room wasn't particularly clean. And when I put my phone on the nightstand, it crunched, and everyone just thought it was hilarious. But it's kind of evolved because I have a thermarest, so that's loud and kind of crunchy, and I always carry a bag of chips, and then I also am the Ziploc lady, so every time I'm just very crunchy person.
A lot of her tent at night basically sounds like a giant potato bag, potato chip bag, just someone just it's crazy.
Yeah.
So she lives up to her name checks out.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever watch Charlie Brown growing up?
A little bit.
Oh yeah, especially the Christmas specials, for sure.
You remember Pigpen?
Oh yeah, my favorite.
And there's this cloud of dust, cloud of dirt following him.
Yeah.
So Crunch, from your description, what I'm imagining is that it's not a cloud of dirt or dust following you. It's a cloud of just noise encircling you.
A little bit. Yeah.
and dust for that matter. I mean, I hiked behind her, and it's I just sucked all her dust from her shoes. It was crazy. Yeah, but that's especially walking into Red's Meadow. I really noticed it. Actually, that's a really dusty trail. So, or outside of Reds, I think it was really dusty. Anyways,
yeah.
So yeah.
And Joey, I understand you picked up a trail name as well.
Yeah, I did. I picked it up pretty early on. I picked it up.
Mile 50.
Was it mile 50? So Sunrise Trailhead. I was okay. So I started night hiking at around 2:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, because I would use if I had to go to the bathroom, I would just use it as my alarm clock. Basically, I'm okay, I'm awake, time to go. So I was cowboy camping mostly in the desert. And so I would wake up, have to go pee, wake up, throw the headlamp on and start hiking. And because I started off doing some decent mileage in the beginning. I was doing 17 to 20s from the get-go. And I was night hiking, and I knew that my friend Walkabout from Germany was ahead of me or behind. He was somewhere in there. And around 5 or 6 miles into it, I see this red headlamp behind me, and I was okay, cool, another hiker. Well, it happened to be Walkabout. A story where it started when we were at the Sunrise Trailhead. We went to the cistern there to get some water, and then we hiked back about a half mile back to camp, and we were all camping in this drainage. And so if you can imagine, the drainage is a small drainage. It's nice and flat. There's a lot of other hikers there. And the trail kind of comes down and then loops around real tight and goes back up. And so after, toking a little cannabis, a little cigarettes from the other side, and just kind of conversating with some hikers, everyone lays down to go to sleep before hiker midnight. And I'm cowboy camping like I normally was doing, and it's night times. I'm just stargazing at the stars and satellites, and I thought I saw a bright light to my left, like shining on the bushes. And so I thought some other hikers are coming down the trail because the trail is very close to where we're camping, very close. Goes right through the camp basically. And so I thought some hikers were coming down with their headlamps. So I look over to my right, and no kidding, there's like this diamond in the sky beaming a light on the bushes. And if I were to guess how far that thing was, it was probably it was hard to tell. It was pretty high up in the sky. I would guess maybe like 15 to 20 miles, and maybe, I don't know, 15,000 feet in the air. If I were to guess, I don't know. It was a good distance and a good height up, So I'm like tripping. I'm like, am I really seeing this? And like I said, I was toking weed, but I wasn't like out of my mind or something. And so I wake up. This girl, this other hiker next to me, she goes by Puffy P. I'm like, at the time I called her real name. I'm like, Ingrid, gotta wake up. You gotta look at this. And she's like, are you really going to make me get out of my tent? And I believe it was a Z-Pack she had. And I'm all, yes. So she unzips the tent, and she's looking at this thing. And this other hiker across the way, this guy Pilgrim's like, is that a UFO? Do I need to get out of my tent? I'm like, no, stay in your tent, because I didn't really care for the dude too much. So so we're looking at this thing for about, I don't know, like not very long. I would say maybe like 10 or 15 minutes. And then it just kind of like cruised off. Well, anyways, I tell him that story, and he's like, well, that's it. You're Area 51. I'm like, sold. So on my Instagram, I love the name. So on my Instagram, I put Area 52, and it was a typo. And somehow got up and down the trail, because then these hikers I didn't even know were like, oh yeah, you're Area 51, but I hear you're Area 52 now. I'm like, yeah, I guess I am. So I mean, that's just how it happened, and just Area 52 ever since. So it was pretty cool. And no one else on trail has it, so I was pretty happy about it.
Now, Area 52 has a lot of syllables. Does that get shortened somehow?
Yeah.
Well, some people call them area. I call them area. Some people call them 52.
And
I don't know. Is there anything else?
That's about it normally. Yeah. It's a lot of fun though when I use it like at a restaurant or something, like a pizza place. Like the other day we were at this pizza place here, and it was in Albuquerque actually. And it's your first name? I'm like, area. Their last name, I'm 52. And like
you can hear them all laughing.
They repeated it. You hear the people in the background like laughing. So it was a lot of fun. So
that's great. So we are 6 or 7 minutes into the episode, and already we've had a close encounter.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. It was pretty wild. It was a lot of fun to see. And ever since, I'm staring up at the sky like nonstop. So yeah. So
Area 52. What do you think it was?
Pardon me?
What do you think it was?
It was like a diamond, like a bright shiny diamond. So I'm not sure. It could have. Was it like? I don't know. It was shining like a light on the bushes from very far away. So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, technically, I guess it's UFO. Was it like alien? Was it like a time machine? Was it like time? Like maybe I don't know. What would you think? Like time travelers from this age, and like who knows? It could be anything. I have a very weird way of viewing the world. So like other dimensions, like I believe in that kind of stuff and like weird things. So I mean, I know the name checks out like in many ways. So and so it was an airplane maybe, because it was only 50 miles in, and LA's pretty close to there, and San Diego is too. So was it like a flight path maybe? Possibly, So yeah,
I love it. I hope more of this kind of bubbles to the surface throughout the interview here.
It probably will. Yeah, it probably will. Yeah.
Okay. I mentioned in the intro that you are a fan of the podcast. You're a listener to the podcast. How many episodes do you think you've listened to?
A lot. I listened to all your stories of the JMT with your son and the jukebox and like your other crew. Those are a lot of fun. I think I've listened to those probably like 3 times, like over and over again, because those are a lot of fun. I like the banter. My other favorite episode is the Tesla episode. I thought that guy was a solid interview. One of my favorites for sure. That guy, like his view on hiking and how it affects him and the world is like the best. It actually gives me goosebumps thinking about it, because I was like, I could relate to that. I think that interview too with that large family that did the AT, that was a lot of fun. I didn't think I was going to like that one that much. I really enjoyed that one. They were a lot of fun to listen to.
Yeah.
It was very interesting, and we met a lot of families on trail. Yeah, a lot of families with young kids on trail. There's a lot of them. There was like the Daly family. They were through hikers from 2012. Yeah. I mean, there's just like so many families out there. We met early on. There was a family with like 2 boys, like little tiny dudes. I mean, a lot of so that was a lot of fun. I thought about that interview a lot as I met these folks. What other interviews? There's so many of them. Your interview, I was going to listen to the other day, and I got wrapped up. I still got to listen to that, but I'm pretty psyched about listening to that interview. So,
well, I hope it lives up to the hype.
I think it will. We were always, whenever we talk podcasts on trail, I'd always, throw your pod out there because I think it's a good listen. So,
thank you. I appreciate that. Crunch, has he converted you to be a JFM pod listener now?
Yeah, I haven't listened to as many.
Little Skittle in the desert.
But we have listened to some together. Yeah, we listened to Little Skittle's episode when we were on trail actually, and I've seen her YouTube videos, so it was fun to hear another perspective. Yeah. We've listened to some.
Especially lady hikers. There's a whole different list of like concerns and like things for I think different gendered people, like different genders experience different things out there for sure. I didn't. So yeah, your pods it's a lot of fun to listen to.
Thank you. And you go way back. I mean, you talk about the episodes on the JMT with my hiking buddies and my son. I mean, that's some of the early days, and you've kind of seen the evolution of the podcast from the beginning to now.
Yeah, I had to re-download those because you uploaded them back as classics, so I had to go and re-download because the originals weren't like available any longer. So yeah, it's very, very well done though. I like how you produce it, and it's good flow and a lot of great guests. So,
thank you. Hey, so since you are a longtime listener, you are very familiar with the kind of the structure of the podcast. You know that there is a segment towards the end called the Pro Tip Insight of the Week. Right. And that's where I'll turn to the two of you, and I'll ask you to share some trail wisdom with our listeners to make their next outdoor experience even better. And I love it when I have a couple on the podcast because we get 2 for 1. So each one of you will be expected to share a pro tip.
Cool. Awesome.
Okay.
We're ready.
We're ready for that. Yeah, we've been talking about that for a while now.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Nice. You're prepped. Okay.
Yeah.
The Must Bring Gear Review.
Hey guys, another feature we've been doing this season is the Must Bring Gear Review, sponsored by the ultralight backpacking gear company 6 Moon Designs. And here's how it works. As you know, if you were to let a stranger pack your bag with pretty much generic gear for a multi-day hike, what is the one specific piece of gear you would insist on being packed? And if you've got a particular brand for that specific piece of gear, even better. So Area 52 and Crunch, what is your must-bring piece of gear?
Please start. Go ahead.
I think my must-bring gear, which I think might be a little overdone with women, but I have to bring it up again, is the pea cloth. I started without one, and I got to Julian, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I got one, and I just use a Kula cloth, but I think any brand that works for anyone is probably a good carry, especially for a woman. I tried it for 70 miles without. Yeah, I wouldn't do it again.
Now, for us guys out there who maybe don't understand the importance of the pea cloth, I mean, what are you able to explain comfortably and succinctly, the difference between no pea cloth and a pea cloth, and why is that so important? And I'm legitimately asking the question.
Yeah, the shake method just doesn't work as well for women. And I just, I'm fine being stinky, but I don't want to smell like urine is really what it comes down to. So having something that you can wipe and then you can wash it you should probably wash it more than I do. We wash it every couple of days. But, just rinse it out in a baggie with a little bit. I always carry Dr. Bronner's and just kind of rinse it out and reuse it. And then you don't smell as bad. It's just a little bit more hygienic.
For the longest time, I had no idea what those were hanging out the back of long distance hiker packs, especially people who identify as women. And now I know. It is not just a cool little cloth taco or a face rag. So yeah.
Crunch, you did a great job of explaining that in terms that now everybody understands. So thank you very much. I have a philosophy that if I ask the question, if I don't know, there's probably some people listening who also don't know. So thank you for clearing that up.
Of course. Yeah.
I think for mine, I thought about this a lot, and I went through, and there's another, I want to save the other item for later. But this item for me was game changer. It was definitely the Sawyer. and not the mini. It was the regular Sawyer, the Sawyer squeeze. Because prior to that, I used the Be Free system for smaller trips, like when I did some backpacking through the Grand Canyon. I was kind of dirt bagging around the western half. Worked just fine for that. But for like a long distance, every single freaking day, filtering musty water in the desert, like that was game changer. Because when we hooked up on trail hiking together, I was using the Be Free, and that thing was like, I had holes in the container, like the push bag, the filter would get clogged up, and she's over here just squeezing in her bottle, and I'm just like, oh, that'd be nice. But I defended that thing.
Yeah, for
how many miles? For miles.
I don't know.
Because
a few hundred.
Because I didn't want to admit the fact that Sawyer was better than some piece of crap that I bought, and I think, where did I make the switch? It was
Canadian Meadows.
Was it Canadian Meadows?
It was Canadian Meadows.
I made the actual hard switch 700 miles in, but prior to that, I was basically just using her filter.
Well, and yeah, like the first like 200 miles before Kennedy Meadows, he was like, "Can I just use your filter?"
Yeah. And so that was game changer. I will always use that filter. And for me, because for me, water was my number one concern out there, always, until I ate the Sierras. So for sure, it's the Sawyer squeeze, 100%.
Okay. Yeah. Area 52, pride can get in the way sometimes and make us do things that we know we shouldn't be doing, but we don't want to admit defeat.
Yes. I was defeated, but honestly, but it was, but I was thankful that I made the switch. Yeah.
Now, I imagine that through your listenership, you've probably heard different versions of the hiking pole.
It's the hiking pole.
Do you have a preferred set of questions? Do you like the traditional kind of hiking questions, or do you like kind of the offbeat, humorous topics out there?
I kind of like I like both, but I prefer the first.
Okay.
The traditional, I guess, for myself, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we're going to do the hiking poll, and this is going to allow me to judge your answers solely based on how, if you agree with me or not. And I'm going to give you a score when we're all finished, between 1 and 100.
Okay.
With 100 being completely sane and 1 being completely crazy.
Okay. Yeah. That'd be great. That's the part that okay. I'm stoked for this.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
Crunch. If I asked you to rate Area 52, give him a score between 1 and 100 on the sanity scale, what would you give him?
I'm sorry. 100 was insane.
100 is completely sane. Sane as it gets.
Well, the lower the number, the more nutty.
Okay. Like 30.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Wow, 30.
Hey, I'm actually happy about that. Thank you. That's good.
And let's turn the tables. Area 52. How would you score Crunch
on the crazy scale?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, knowing what I know about her and her hiking experience and her just jump. But then I got to take into gear and everything else. I would give you a crazy scale. I would go 50-50 with you.
Okay.
I'll go 50. I'll go 50.
Okay.
I think she's a little crazier than me in many ways because. Oh, I guess we can get into that later, but yeah, I'd say 50. But it's probably, I would say 50. But maybe it's probably, I guess gear-wise, it might actually be more like 60, 70. But I want to go with 50, I think.
Wow, yeah. Area 52 is really parsing this question.
Yeah, yes, I am. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's a hard one to tie down. But anyways, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask you 7 questions. I'm going to get answers from each of you. And I am not going to take as long as Area 52 did right there to come up with a score for both of you. The fact that you both attempted to do the 2,650-mile Pacific Crest trail, that's automatically a deduction of 20 points. So you can't score any higher than 80. Okay. Here we go. First question. We'll start with Area 52, and then we'll flip-flop who goes first after that. So trekking poles or no trekking poles?
One trekking pole.
One trekking pole.
I was dabbling with. Well, I had 2, and then I was dabbling with 1, and then the descent of Pincho Pass up in the High Sierras. I tripped like everyone else does on that descent, and apparently. And I snapped the left. They were aluminum. I thought they would bend, but it actually snapped. And so that was I started just using one, and I threw the other one away, and I just love having one. It's more versatile. So when I'm able to do things with my hands, like, take little stealth hits of like, cannabis or something, it's easier with just one pole, or, picking my nose while we're hiking, because you know how that gets. And like, you're always constantly picking your nose. So like one pole super like just made more sense for me. Yeah. One pole.
Okay. Crunch, how about you?
I do 2 poles. I'm very clumsy and didn't snap my poles, so I like having them to catch me. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Question number 2. We'll start with Crunch this time. Boots or trail runners?
100%. I've heard horror stories. I've never even tried trail runner. Yeah.
All right. We had a little bit of a freeze right there. I'm going to ask you again, and you go ahead and answer the question. Boots or trail runners?
Trail runners, for sure. I've never even tried boots. Trail runners all the way. I've heard horror stories from the other side. Trail runners.
Other side. Yeah.
And how about you, Area 52?
Trail runners, 100%. Ultra, zero drop. What are they again? I'm not a big brand guy.
Lone Peaks.
Lone Peaks
is what you were.
I had the Lone Peaks. I've been using those now for going on years of them. It's the high top version. I like that. I like this. Just because I just like the feel of the high top, the trail runner look, I guess, the combo. They work great for me, and probably won't use any other shoe until they stop making those, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Crunch, do you prefer the Ultras?
Yeah, I'm actually in the Olympus. They're a little bit sturdier of a shoe. I started in the Lone Peaks, and by the time I got to Julian, I had such bad blisters that when I went into Two Fit Adventures, there, the outfitter in there, I was like, please help me. And they were like, well, you could try like these different models. And I was like, I need something sturdy. So I went with the Olympus, and actually never had any issues since then. So it's been great. Yeah.
Okay. 52. When it comes to your shelter, are you do you prefer tent, tarp, hammock, bivy, or cowboy camping? I
preferred cowboy camping until after the descent of San Jacinto, for many reasons that we could get into later. I cowboy camped. How many miles is that, basically?
150. No, almost 200 miles.
Almost 200 miles cowboy camping, and then after that experience that I had, so that we could go into later, I like to get in my shelter, 100%. Tent. I'm a tenter. But I am looking forward to doing something else. I'm looking maybe possibly a bivy, something really small, lighter, obviously. But yeah, for right now, this trip, it was a tent. It was I started with the Nemo Hornet 1P, and then that got shredded by 145, and then I went with Big Agnes Fly Creek, and then we went into yours eventually. Tenter right now. Yeah. But original, I would love to cowboy camp, but after that experience, no.
Okay. Yeah. I can't wait to hear the story. How about you, Crunch?
Yeah.
I'm a tenter for sure. I like to be in my cocoon. I like to pretend like I'm not outside when I'm in camp, because at that point I just need to be cocooned, safe.
I want to be away from the outside, also outside.
Yes, just a little bit. I love being outside. I love the lifestyle, but just a little safety, Yeah.
Safe. The only safety you're going to get from a tent is safety from the bugs. Other than that, it's a
big help, though. It's a big help, especially in the Sierra. It's a huge help.
Yeah, as you would know.
Yeah.
As you would know.
Yeah. Now, while you're in that tent, let's go to question number 4. You prefer a sleeping bag or a quilt?
I use a quilt. I love it. I have an Enlightened Equipment 0 degree. It's amazing. I will always carry that, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably, that's the next thing I'm going to get, actually, after this thing runs its course. Because I still use it, actually. It's a Big Agnes Anvil 15 degree bag. The zipper broke on San Jacinto, so I was using it as a quilt for the rest of the hike. It worked sometimes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes I was really cold, but then Yeah, I'll go quilt. Yeah, I'm a better, but I'm definitely getting out of the bag by now. I'm kind of over it. So too heavy. It just, as a matter of fact, at PCT days, we would do a lightened booth, and I'm getting lightened everything at this point. Puffy, quilt, anyway. So yeah, it's my little tangent about that.
All right. Now, when it comes to food on the trail, you prefer stove, cold soak, or stoveless?
I was dabbling with cold soak and stove in the desert, or no cook. And by Kennedy Meadows, I gave my stove away to our friend Lost and Found that needed, and gave but now I'm a full-time cold soaker, no cooker. Yeah. I like the convenience of it. It's very nice. Like, I don't like having to do extra things. And on top of that, I like to suffer a little bit out there because it makes everything taste that much better. That's about it, really. Even my cocktail, some chocolate Swiss Miss, and shake it up, make some hyper sludge, and keep going. So I love that kind of stuff. Yeah.
You like to suffer out there. Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Nice. How about you, Crunch? Did you follow him down that rabbit hole, or did you stand your ground?
No, I stood my ground. I carried a stove the whole way. I will always carry a stove. Warm meals for me, especially at dinner. Hot chocolate. I would even sometimes let him have some of my like dehydrated meals.
Because
I'm like, here, take a bite.
Yeah, she would like feel pity upon me. Well, she's like eating her like really good like spaghetti mountain house lasagna. Like, this is, I smell it. So like, I'm like, oh, I eat my slop, and I'm like, this smells really good over here. And then she would be like, here, you want to have a bite? I'm like, and it was like the best bite, and then I get back to eating my slop, or mass amounts of gummy bears and gummies in the desert. So yeah. I would. She was eating pretty good out there.
All right, Crunch. Pick one of these options. Life is better above or below the tree line?
That's so hard because you get the best views above the tree line.
Yeah.
But you're so exposed, and it's so nice to be cozy under the tree line. So I don't know. I guess I'll say above the tree line just because that's where you get the best views. But I do really love the trees. It's hard for me. That's really hard for me.
My views on this one really changed because I think you asked this on, and after hiking, I'm going to say above tree line, especially during the mosquito bloom. Oh, wow. I am really happy to be above tree line because every time we dipped back down into that mosquito bloom, it was brutal. So, and then the views were stellar, especially the descent to Forster Pass and those Kearsarge Pinnacles and that valley. Oh boy, I love that. I get goosebumps just thinking about that. That was the tastiest piece of frickin' trail I've ever been on in my life. Nothing will come close to that. So, yeah, above tree line, 100%. Yeah.
Okay. And question number 7, last question in the hiking poll. What's more important, pack weight or luxury items?
Polar opposites on this one. You want to start?
Pack weight, 100%. 100%. Like, my food carries were pretty awful because of that. I carried the small bear can, and I pretty much lived on Snicker bars, Jamiches, and payday bars in the high Sierras. Breakfast essentials, just because I did not want to pack like any more weight than I had to. Yeah, I'm a creature of comfort, and I definitely, well, some of it I would claim is because I'm very petite, so I like to say if I don't have them, I'm probably going to die out there from hypothermia or something. But I definitely carry a lot more. Yeah.
Okay, let me do some quick math here. I carry the 4. We're going to divide by root of 2, and we're going to multiply by pi, and we'll adjust. In this instance only, we'll adjust for the atmospheric pressure at the top of San Jacinto, because I understand there's an interesting story coming on that, and some very interesting results here. Crunch, I'm going to start with you. pretty darn sane. I mean, you high scores all the way along, 75 out of a possible 80 points.
So,
that's
good.
Thank you.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Area 52. I wish I could say the same for you, but I mean, you already said that you welcome the craziness. So,
Yes.
Some interesting answers on your part, and I've got you with a 37.
Oh, you're good.
Thank you.
Very good. Nice. I'm happy about that. Very good. I was like worried I was gonna get like a 40 or something. So
All right. Hey, before we get too far down the trail, let's back up a little bit. We want to hear about your background, where each of you grew up, what kinds of activities you were involved as a kid, and how you got involved in through hiking.
Okay. Well, I grew up in Reno, Nevada, and I grew up basically playing a lot of baseball, riding BMX bikes, a lot of little league, a little bit of football until I got hit. And I was basically trying out for football in high school, and I got whacked by the biggest guy on the team. And I remember looking up at him, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna go back to baseball. So I didn't play much football, but I watched a lot of it. And then I don't know, around in my 30s, I wanted to run my first marathon. So I made it a goal. I think it was 2012. I started training for the LA Marathon, and I actually ran the LA Marathon in about 4 hours and about 30 minutes with a friend from work. And that was when they had I think that was 2012, 2013, when they had the St. Patty's Day medallion. So it was like it was a clover shaped one, which was really cool. And when we got back home from that, I was like, hey, Tim, there's this thing called like the LA San Francisco Challenge. We got to do it because we'll get like a third medal. So he was like, yeah, but it's only like months away. I was like, we could do it. So like, I basically talked him in. We flew to San Francisco, and I had a bet with the boss from work that I could run a sub 4-hour marathon, just months later after running my first. And I actually came in at 3:58, so I won that bet. And so we got our third medal, and then I started getting into trail running because I wanted to get into ultras. And so I was training for the Hemis 50 miler up in Los Alamos, New Mexico, and that's how I got into hiking. That's how I discovered hiking, was through ultra running. And so I ran a marathon, the Colfax Marathon up in Denver, 2 days prior to running the 50-mile ultra that was basically canceled at around 42 miles because of a freak snowstorm in May, which is pretty crazy, actually, a whole story unto itself. But in my mind, I still ran it because by the time I got to the ski lodge with only I don't know how many miles left, like 10 miles left or something, whatever it was, that was a long time ago, so I can't really remember. I was still ready to go, but people were hypothermic, so we had to call the race. So in my mind, I still finished regardless. So that's how I kind of got it, because I actually enjoyed the hiking more than the running. And in ultras, as you know, as a runner, you do a lot of hiking, a lot of fast hiking in ultras if you're not like the elite. So that's how I got into hiking. And then so after that ultra, I got into hiking, and I enjoyed being on trail. I did a ton of day hikes, a lot of weird stuff with just like doing like these weird hikes where I would just go for on and on and on and use my car as like an aid station, basically. And that's how I got into it. I got into the hiking cult that way. And the way I discovered hiking was, and I ran into, it was 2016 or 17, or maybe, somewhere in there, 17, I think. I ran into this hiker with like earbuds on. She was like about as tall as her, about, I don't know, not even 5 feet tall. Sunglasses, trekking poles, like gaiters, and I'm like, with a big old pack. I'm like, what's going on here? We're like, she was going northbound. I was going southbound, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? I'm Joey. And she's like, I'm Huckleberry. I'm like, Huckleberry, that's interesting. And I could tell she had like a accent. And she was from Europe. Well, I'm like, how did you get the Huckleberry? Is that your real? And she's like, no, it's a trail name. So, and she started talking about trail names, and she's hiking the PCT. I was like, well, where are you coming from? She's like, Mexico. And I'm like mind blown, right? Like Mexico, like what the hell's wrong with you? But I thought she was rad because this lady had like legs of steel, right? Like you can look at her legs and they're just there. It was crazy. And so I chat with her and I start going more south, and I run into a section hiker. I forgot his name, and he was coming from a place by Shasta. What's that place by Shasta where people jump on at? I forgot the name of it. It's very well known, but he was doing a section hike of Oregon. And so then idea got in my head, and then I fell into the hole of just like, I'm doing this. Because to me, that was like way bigger than any ultra I could think of, including like, I hate to say it, but like, there's Western States and Hard Rock, and it goes on and on. And I was like, this thing is like insane because it's like one continuous trail and people are out there for months, not just a weekend. So like, to me, I was like, I had to do it. Yeah, I had to do it. And so that's pretty much the evolution. I was always outside as a kid, always playing outside in the mountains, always playing sports, always doing something outside, or especially endurance type things. I was always chasing my shadow as a kid. I was like, well, look, Mom and Dad, look at my shadow. Look how fast my shadow's going. Like, look how fast I can travel by foot, Even as a kid, I was riding my BMX bikes around Reno, Nevada, just to see if I could do it, So, I mean, I was just doing weird stuff like that.
I love to hear those moments when the whole notion of this trail that goes from Mexico to Canada gets in somebody's mind and just kind of burrows in there.
Oh, yeah.
It's eventually going to manifest itself. So that's pretty
cool.
Yeah,
it was crazy. So, yeah, it is.
Yeah. How about you, Crunch?
Yeah, very different. I'm from outside Chicago, Flatlander. Had never actually hiked on any mountains ever. My childhood was my family trying to get me into sports and me resisting. I did Irish dancing when I was very little, but I stopped around 11. And then after that, I was very non-athletic until about high school, and I started getting into yoga. But yoga has been basically my only, physical activity until COVID hit. And then I started to do a lot of day hikes. And I found out that I really enjoyed it. And I was watching some weird stuff on YouTube because it was a weird time in everyone's lives being locked down. And I stumbled on one of Dixie's videos. I'm one of those people. And she was doing the review on it's like an actual through hiker versus the movie Wild. And I had remember seeing Wild a long time ago, but it never really stuck with me. Like, I remember watching the movie and then looking up the trail and being like, that's cool, but definitely not doing that. That's too much. So anyways, years later, I see Dixie's video and I'm like, oh, that's cool. And so then it was just like COVID entertainment until that worm you're talking about that burrows in your brain. And you're like, I have to go do that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now, before we get to break, just tell us real quickly, what do you guys do to pay the bills? How do you fund your adventures out there? What do you do in the real world?
I am getting back into that and back into the the real world. I'm in production. I'm in printing. I work for one of the largest printers in the Southwest, and that's what I do. I work for a very large printing outfit. A lot of people think that print is dead. It is not dead. We're flourishing here. So that's what I do. It's making books, make magazines, those types of things. Yeah.
And I want to rephrase how I just asked that. I asked, what do you do in the real world? When it seems to me that probably the real world is out there on the trail. I mean, it doesn't get much realer than that. I should rephrase that question to, what do you do in the artificial world?
Yes, that's what we actually. That's funny. That's actually what we.
Yeah, I prefer to call it the synthetic world.
Yeah.
So,
synthetic. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. We have a lot of conversations about that on trail, actually.
Yeah.
So, Crunch, what do you do? What do you do in the synthetic world?
Yeah, I'm a sign language interpreter by trade. I was working in a school district, and then COVID hit, and I couldn't stand being behind a computer screen anymore. So I was like, next season, I'm going out. So that's how that happened. But I will be probably returning to that once we get settled. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to hear about your PCT experience, and we're going to hear about how the two of you met and how you guys ended up in a motel room in New Mexico right now. So stay tuned for that. We'll be right back. And welcome back. We were talking to Area 52 and Crunch. And as I mentioned before we went to break, you right now, the two of you are currently in a hotel room in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Yeah.
We're in Santa Fe. We're kind of like we're on the closing end of this journey together, actually. So she'll be going back to Illinois just for a little bit before moving back out here. So we're kind of on the tail end of things.
Okay. So you said you were from Reno, Area 52. Mm-hmm. Are you in Southern California now, or are you still in Reno?
I relocate. No, I'm no longer in Reno. I grew up in Reno, and then there was a lot of moving back and forth. And then I officially moved to New Mexico like around 2003, 4. And then it was a lot between New Mexico, Oregon, New Mexico, Washington, New Mexico, California, and then finally it's like I'm here. This is where I'm going to call home, Santa Fe. Yes.
Santa Fe. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And Crunch, you're going back to Illinois, but it sounds like you two are committed to continue the relationship and be in the same town.
Yeah, the trail provided, long-term partners for sure. Yeah, we're getting back into like that synthetic world thing, and we'll live traditionally for a little bit, and that's going to be in Santa Fe. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to share with us the story of how the two of you met, and initial thoughts of each other, and how this all kind of evolved.
Okay.
Do you want to start?
I think I'll start.
Okay.
We haven't really told this story to anybody else besides like really close trail friends and family. So this is pretty cool. All right. So I started my hike on March. My start date was on the 18th, but I only hiked half a mile that day because it was late in the day, and I stayed at that Cleef. And if Cleef is right by the border, and I stayed there with a trail angel named Legend. Last time we saw him was at PCT days, but he's a well-known trail angel. He was there with Midnight and some other trail angels there, and had like a feast and a talk. And then the next day I woke up at 5 and got hiking. I started hiking, and my first day on trail was a 20-mile day. I didn't expect to hike 20 miles that day, but there was no water in Hauser Creek, so I was forced to go on. And eventually I ended up, I don't know how long it took me exactly when I ended up in, where was it? Idlewild. But I ended up in Idlewild at mile 150. I think it's 150, right? Yeah. And I rented a cabin there, and by the way, I just want to say I love the town of Idlewild, one of my favorite trail towns of all time. I rented a cabin and had a big old party with a bunch of hikers there, and we were having a good time and everything. And the next day, we're going to hitch out with a well-known trail angel out there. You guys know him. It's Grumpy. Very interesting character. I walk out of my cabin, and I see this young lady with blue eyes and brown hair sitting on one of the chairs, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, well, she's young and cute, and I didn't really think anything of it. And I went back to doing what I was doing, and I knew she was a friend of another trail friend of mine at the time, and we hitched out together, and we get dropped off at Paradise Valley Cafe, PVC, and we start walking towards the trailhead, and she's like, I remember walking on the side of the road, and she's like, I'll be your ride bride. So like, we're like, cool, we'll get a ride bride. But we ended up actually, like, I think someone ended up picking us up actually.
But
we were half a mile away, but she picked us up anyways, dropped us off, and we started hiking. And our friend AKA, who hiked the AT, he's hiking around us, and then he hiked ahead, and he was kind of party training with some other hikers, and I was leapfrogging with her, and it was late in the day. And when I started hiking late in the day, I like doing maybe 5 miles, maybe 4, maybe 1, but no more than 7. And so we're like leapfrogging each other and getting water, and I'm like, oh, she's cool. She's also really cute. So it's like we're hiking, and I could also tell that I could just tell that she didn't have a lot of hiking experience. And I know San Jacinto in the back of my mind was kind of giving me a little bit of like hesitation, or like, I hope I'm going to be safe on this. I hope this is not going to get gnarly, because it is a March, right? We have a pretty early start date, because I didn't get hiking until like the 19th. I started hiking.
Yeah, there was a recent snowstorm,
right?
So
there was
I was pretty
snowstorm,
nervous about it too.
Yeah, so I was kind of like, well, I would like to hike this entire thing with somebody, and since we're leapfrogging each other, I was like, well, I asked her, I was like, hey, how do you feel about hiking this thing with me, right?
Yeah.
And then and we hiked it together.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because we took 6 days to do San Jacinto when it should have only taken us like maybe 2, maybe 1.
3 days.
3 days, but like we did it 6 days, and it was an amazing time. We really bonded on that mountain. We worked together. There were a lot of like drainages with snow and ice on there, and a lot of blowdowns, and so we really helped each other through that thing, and that's where we really bonded. You want to take it from there?
Well,
or no?
You're leaving some things out.
Like what?
Like you just wanted to skip over the whole pink blazing thing.
Okay. Well, okay. You want to go? You want to go into that? Go ahead.
Well, he waited for me that first night when we hitched out.
Okay.
And was like, "Oh, do you want to camp with me?"
Oh, okay, yeah.
And
So
at
that's
that
true,
point, I had my average. I was much slower than him. He was doing like 17, 20s. I was doing like on a good day like 9, but mostly like 7s. So when he's like, "Hey, do you want to stop at like 6 miles in?" I'm like, "Sure, that sounds great to me." So we camped together that night.
Okay, I'll back up. So that day when we were leapfrogging, I was like, I really want to camp with her. So, and so we're hiking up, and I see this guy, and he's setting up camp at this site. I knew it was there, obviously, because he got a hook. And I'm like, I didn't really want her camping with him. So I was like, "Hey, my friend Crunch is behind me. Can you let her know that I'm like, I can't." That's all I said. He's like, "Sure." Really cool spot, just big enough for me to cowboy camp. I knew it was just big enough for her tent, and it was like there's like a granite like wall right behind us, and then like a platform, then the trail, and then this beautiful view.
Yeah.
And we camped together that night, and the sky was like cotton candy pink, a beautiful sunset, and it was awesome. Mm-hmm. And then we continued hiking and camping together.
Yeah.
And I would hike in front of her at that time, and I would leave her like little messages in the dirt with my trekking poles, like "be happy," or like a smiley face, or like a little heart or something. Mm-hmm. And like she was like, "Oh, he's just being oblivious." Yeah, I thought he's just being nice, but I liked her, So, and we hiked and camped, and it was amazing, wasn't it? That mountain's really special to us both, big time. That entire area, and I think we continued hiking together. We zeroed together in Banning, right?
Yeah.
And should I go into the story about the cowboy camping thing now or no?
Yeah, I was going to follow up and ask, was it because of you wanting to hang out with Crunch? Is that why you got away from cowboy camping? But evidently there's another story.
That's a good idea, by the way. I like that one. So we are making our descent down San Jacinto, and that's like 7,000 feet of like descent over 18 miles, I think. Yeah. And it took us a long time. And we're hiking down this thing, and we're almost there. We have our headlamps on because now it's nighttime. It's around 8 or 9 this night. Or it was around 9.
When we got to camp, it was like 10:30. We got in late.
We're hiking together. We show up to that water spigot. We had to make it there because for people who have hiked that portion, that's the only water.
That's the only water. There. That's the only camp spot, too,
right?
Unless you want to like park it on a switchback. Like you have to get.
You have to get there to get that water. So we get there. We get the water. People are. We're trying to be as quiet as we can. Of course, I'm the idiot with no headlamp with a red light. So I'm like blinding everybody, and she's like, "Here, use my headlamp." So we put the red light on. We get our water. She's a smart, responsible human being, and she throws her tent up in the desert. And I'm like, "You're crazy! Like, I'm tired. I have no time for that crap." I throw my Z Light down because I don't use an air mattress, an air pad. I don't like them because my Z Light never fails. Period. So like, I throw it down. I put my bag down. I'm sitting there. I'm like, "Oh crap!" I put my Z Light on the amp pile. So I move it. She's getting nice and toasty in her tent. Another spot. I lay my head down on this I don't use a pillow, so I'm just using like this rock, and I start falling asleep after I'm watching the stars, and something wakes. I remember I'm laying on my left side, and something wakes me up, crawling across my face, and I swipe it off my face, and I turn the headlamp on, and it's just a scorpion just chilling. And so at this point, I'm like, this frickin' sucks. Because when I have the light on, then I see like all these like nocturnal spiders cruising around, the scorpion. I'm like, oh gosh, like what am I doing here? And I'm still refused to put my tent up, And so I'm like, just go to sleep. Just go. And by then my zipper is broken because my zipper on my Big Agnes bag broke on San Jacinto. And so I have like no way of protecting myself from these bugs besides my shelter, which I'm not going to get out at all because it's too late. And I wake up in the morning. I check my body. Luckily, there's no bites. And
that was the last time.
That was the last time I cowboy camped. That was the last time I cowboy camped. It was when it was because that scorpion cruising across my face. And so that morning, we wake up and we see a bunch of other hikers. There's that really own trail angel out there named
Cheshire.
Cheshire. And he kind of goes around everywhere with his dog, like the PCT, the CDT, I think, too.
Yeah, he helps on the CDT.
And he just gives fruit to people. And so this really wily guy shows up, and I'm like, cool, this guy's awesome. He's giving everyone fruit. And after he leaves, I'm like walking down the road to take a leak, and there's just this big old, just let me add, up to this point, I have not seen one snake on trail.
Mm-hmm. Same.
I the other side of San Jacinto though,
Snake City.
And so this is giant 6 foot long snake cruising, and so I'm like, hey guys, check this out. So everyone's taking a picture. Snake excitement's gone. We go back to where we were sleeping. I go to sit on a rock right by the camp where I was sleeping. I go to sit down and hear like just a rattler going. I jump back. After that experience, it was nonstop snakes on the trail with us. Yeah. Because at that point I'm hiking behind her so we can hike together and talk, and she's either almost dodging snakes or almost stepping on snakes.
It happened a lot.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
On the mountain, we get down there. That's that crazy little story about the scorpion, and we hike. We carry on to Mesa. We zero banning.
He tells me that he has feelings for me.
We're going there.
Yes, we're going there because it's a story.
I love it. That's true. Okay, so I tell her that I have feelings. Yes, okay. Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did. And
no, he tells me that he has feelings for me. We hike out, like after our zero. I think it was the next day.
The next day. Oh, tell about the food carry though.
Oh,
our food carry was insanely dumb. Like we probably had it felt like at the time 50 pounds of food on our back.
We probably did.
Because San Jacinto just wiped us clean with food. So we just went crazy at, I think it was Stater Brothers in Banning. I think our bill was off the hook. Crazy. It was crazy. So we're sitting there under that bridge.
So hang on a second. I need to go back a little bit because I think I've got questions. And we've heard it from Area 52's perspective so far. And I know if I've got questions, my listeners have questions. So Crunch, what are you thinking this whole time? You're hiking with this guy, and he tells you that he has feelings for you. What's going through your mind at this point?
You know what? I really was unsure, and it sounds stupid to say, but at the time, he's a little bit older than me. Not that much, but a little bit. And
okay, full disclosure, I'm 40 and she's 26.
I'm 26. So at the time, and to be honest, he's a big teenager, so it's really not that big of a leap. But at the time, it's all of the paperwork stuff, which is a little bit stupid. But then I was also like, is this going to ruin our friendship? Because we had such a good friendship that we had created on San Jacinto. I mean, he slowed down to hike with me, and I don't know, we just had a really good time being with each other. We would stay up way, not past hyper midnight, but we would find excuses to okay, I'll bring out my sleeping bag so we could still talk, So I wasn't really sure. I was still processing my feelings. And so I was like, okay, well, just give me some time to think about it. And we hike out. We get to I-10, the whole oasis right there. Anyone who's hiking through there, I wouldn't get any food from there just because the mice get in the boxes, whatever. But it's very nice that they set up things there, so that's cool. Thank you, Trail Angels. We appreciate you. We appreciate the water. That's super cool. But yeah, and then we kept on hiking. We got to the Mesa Wind Farm, and that's when he tricks me into a kiss.
Okay.
Yeah, we're talking about it.
So we're at Mesa Wind Farm, and I was like, I'm gonna shoot my shot here because I sensed that she liked me too, And so we're at Mesa Wind Farm because there's that little building there. I don't know what they do there, and they have a water cache.
Yeah, they do have a water cache.
And we were pretty much out of water at that point, so we're like, okay, well, let's get a bottle of water each, then we'll go camp right there, and then carry on the next day. And I was like, I'm gonna shoot my shot. I'm gonna see if I can kiss her. So it was a really beautiful night. There were stars, and I was like, hey, you want to come out with the stars with me? And then she kind of caught on to what I was trying to do. Mm-hmm. And so she sits in her vestibule of her tent, and I'm like, So I walk over to her, and I'm like, I asked her, I was like, is it okay if I kiss you on the cheek? And she said yes, and I found on her lips, but and then after that, we went to sleep.
Yeah.
And the next day we wake up and we hike to the story's this is going somewhere.
Yeah.
So we hiked to Whitewater Preserve, And we hiked. We didn't hike right to where that river is or whatever that is. We hiked to like the building, the tourist area,
oasis or whatever they have there. Yeah.
And we're just chilling, and I'm just like going through my head like, I don't think she likes me, because we're just like the discussion wasn't real. And so I'm just like, things are brewing in my head like, oh geez, like I think I messed up.
It's getting a little paranoid.
And so we're laying there taking a little siesta with another hiker. I forgot his name, and I'm like, I tell her, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go smoke some weed. So I'm going to hike out and smoke some weed. And there's a lot of day hikers there, so it wasn't really my jam. He
looks me dead in the eye, and he says, I'm going to smoke a bowl. See you on trail. See you on trail. He told me, see you on trail. Which we've been hiking together for over a week.
Right. And I actually I did 17. I booked. And because I was kind of freaking a little bit, because I slowed way down. And I was getting feelings for this girl who I thought liked me, but then I wasn't too sure after that, And so I was kind of like, I just hiked.
Yeah.
I hike pretty fast when I want to. And I did 17, and around like, I haven't passed that family I was telling you about, the Daily family, actually, a really large family that was on Instagram. And talked to them for a little bit, and I carried on. And I was going over my head, like, should I stop? Should I not stop? I really like her, but, what am I doing? Like, I had a plan on the trail, and, so all these things were going through my head. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, don't be stupid. What are you doing? You like her. So just stop. So I stopped, and I was like, no matter what, I am staying here until she crosses my path. Yeah. I don't care if it takes a day or 2 days, I'm staying. And so meanwhile,
I'm at Whitewater. I walk 3 miles, and I'm like, okay, there's no shade. He's probably further up trail. He's not really one for a crowd. So I get to the actual river. I'm like, okay, well, I need water. And then I start like kind of freaking out a little bit. And I'm like, hey, has anyone seen Area 52? And they're like, no idea. And I'm like, okay, so he kept on going. So then I like get my water, and then I start going up the hill. And then I'm like, I see his tag. He tagged himself in the.
Oh yeah, I was doing it.
Like a hiker message in the dirt. And I was like, okay, like he's here. That's cool. And I got a message from him from his Garmin on my phone, but like we didn't properly sync our Garmins.
Yeah.
So like he could send Garmin to phone, and I could send my Garmin to his cell phone. But if he didn't have any service, it wasn't going his actual whatever. So we couldn't communicate. So I was getting like half messages, and I was getting half messages. And so I'm like basically chasing after him. Can't find him. I camped alone that night. And then the next
that night sucked, by the way. I camped alone too, and it was awful.
Yeah, and then the next day, because I'm a little bit slower, the early birds who are really quick are leaving camp. And I'm like, if you see Area 52, tell him to stop.
So I wake up the next morning, I wrap up camp, I wake up early, so I'm out there, like, I'm like, whatever you do, don't leave. So I'm sitting there on a log, and I'm just watching hikers go by. I'm smoking a bowl or whatever, and then these like people are coming up. They're like, hey, are you Area 52? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, whatever. Crunch said, don't leave. Whatever you do, don't leave. She wants to see, she wants to see you. I was like, oh, cool. So it calmed my nerves, because I'm waiting for her. I didn't know if she was going to like say screw off or I didn't know what she was going to do, because I hiked away from her. And so I'm like super nervous. And every time someone was coming, there was like a little hill that I'm looking at, and so people come and knock out, and I see the top of their heads. I'm like, is that her? Is that her? No, that's not her. And then there was like some other guy or just some other girl, like, here you are, 52. I'm like, yeah. She's like, whatever you do, Crunch said, don't go. Just stay right there. I'm like, okay, now I know she wants to see me. So like, I'm just hanging out. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm like hanging out for like another, I don't know, having like an hour or something. And I finally see her coming over the hill, and I see her pink sun shirt, and I see her, like, everything about her says Crunch. I'm like, oh, that's her. And so I'm like really nervous. I'm like, whoa.
Well, and I'm doing the same scan. I'm like, okay, that's his pack. Those are his poles. I think that's his outfit. Yeah, that's for sure him. Like, I'm doing the whole analysis.
And then she walks like up to me, and like, what did you say? You said,
I said I didn't think that I was going to see you again.
And like, she says that like right to my face, and just plants a kiss on my face. And like, we were just like, I think we were both crying at that point, because we really liked it. And then I knew she liked me. Yeah. And that the feelings were mutual. So that was pretty rad.
That was a long story, but that's how it happened.
That's how it happened. That's exactly how it happened. And then we hiked like I think I hiked a total of 2. I hiked a total of 2 miles that day. That day when I waited for her, because we found a really good stealth spot where there was no wind in some bushes by a stream, and like we're just like overjoyed to see each other. So we just sat there like all day talking.
Yeah.
And then we were like, hey, it's almost nighttime. We better go find a good tent site, which we were sitting on. There's like these other two hikers, one who we met actually at Trail Days eventually, but they're all, hey, are you going to use that spot? Or, no, we're about to head out of here. She gets to a good stealth site with no wind. We hike out and to like,
we didn't even know it was windy.
We didn't even know it was windy. We go out there, it was just windy like crazy. That night, we did not sleep at all. My tent got shredded. We slept in my tent that night. It got shredded. Yeah. And so, but that's how it happened. Ever since, we're pretty much in, we have not, actually, we've been together every single day after that. So that's pretty much how we met. Yeah.
Nice to hear about how you work out relationship issues on the trail, especially when you don't have the ability to communicate over certain distances. So that was a kind of a good behind the scenes look right there.
And there's a lot more. Yes, I agree 100% with that. This is pretty awesome. Yeah.
Now, I said at the beginning of the episode that you guys attempted the PCT.
Right.
Anybody who has been following along on your Instagram story in your journey knows that you did not go all 2,650 miles. What you want to take us through how that all worked out?
Sure. You want to take it from? You want to go there? Or?
Sure. Yeah. We got off at Sonora Pass. Our intentions are to finish the second half. But I think it was our decision. But to be honest, I was kind of the catalyst for it. I think things started to change for me probably around Whitney. We did Whitney, and it was an amazing experience, but it also was extremely hard, and I had a very hard time on that mountain. It was very emotional for me, pushing a lot of like comfort zones and boundaries, and fear of heights and just a lot of things. And after that, you come into town off of Kearsarge Pass, and we get back on, and I'm feeling pretty good. And then I started to feel really boxed in the Sierra, to the point where it was kind of eating at my morale. And I was just like, okay, like, let's just get to town. Once we get to town, you can reset. And then when you get back on trail, you'll be fine. And I probably hiked like that for over a month, and until it was like, I'm no longer having fun. Like, I can't just keep on saying the next time it will get better. So finally we were in Yosemite, and I looked at him one morning, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. So it was the Tuolumne to Sonora Pass section.
Yeah.
We took a week off in Levining because both of us
got sick.
COVID.
We got COVID. Yeah.
And then we get back on at Tuolumne, and that first day I was actually still really not feeling well. We only did about 5 miles, and then he asked me, he's like, oh, do you want to go back to Tuolumne? And I was like, no, like, let's just keep going. And then about 9 miles in that day, I kind of had a freak out, and wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, just because I was still not feeling great. So I was like, the further we walk away from town, the less resources we have until we get to Sonora. So I was kind of having a little bit of an iffy moment, and he was like, well, what do you want to do? Are we going to turn around, or are we going to keep going? And I was like, well, let's just finish the section, and hopefully by the end of the section I'll have some clarity on what I want to do. And then the next morning I woke up and I was like, I actually think that I want to get off.
So Punch, you said that you were feeling boxed in the Sierras. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Yeah, knowing that there is an opportunity for an out, that out is doing another pass. And you can either go forward and do all 6 passes, or you can do a side trail and take another pass to get off into like Bishop or Lone Pine or something. But at that point, we were probably already on trail for about 5 days. We took a trail zero at Ray Lakes, which we really enjoyed.
So good.
And then we kept on hiking, and I don't know how many passes that was, but I think by probably Mirror. No, it was before that. Mather was a hard day.
Yeah, Mather was.
I think it was probably around Mather that I was just starting to realize that we still had several passes to go, and also a side trail exit would include another pass. And I was like, I think at that point that might have been our longest stretch away from a town too. So I was just starting to feel very. Best way to put it, boxed in, because you have to climb a mountain to get out.
So the way, like, I kind of saw her going through this on Whitney, on the ascent of Whitney. Especially after that really sketchy part. You know that when you're going up Whitney, and then there's a little sketch part, right? That's jagged. It looks way different than any other part of the trail.
Yep.
She was having a moment there, and I was kind of having a little bit of a moment with frustration because I knew that at that pace we were going, we slack packed Meadow, so we put everything out of our packs, for some snacks, and we were good to go. I was like, at this pace, we are not getting back for a long time. So she's going through that, and I'm thinking to myself, I have got to calm her down so that she doesn't just like freeze up on this thing, you know. And I know she got it. We were like a mile away from the top. I think it's about a mile, right, from that area. Yeah. And she was like, "No, just go up and I'll wait for you." I was like, "No, I'm not going up that thing without you. Like, you were here. You could do this. You're not exhibiting any signs of like altitude sickness. You don't seem drunk. Everything seemed fine." She was just freaking out a little bit because of when you're on that thing and you look down, it's just like, with no snow, by the way, it's a sheer drop. Yeah. You can look down to Guitar, you see Guitar Lake, you see all that stuff is beautiful, but it is pretty, if you start thinking about it too much, it can be a little unnerving. Yeah. Because we're not supposed to be there as human beings. We're not supposed to be on that thing. Yeah. Like, we're at a place where human beings really don't need to be existing, and they're not going to exist. So like, I'm like, she's going to freak out. Don't let her, I don't want this to turn into where she just freezes. So I chill her out. We get up that thing and we get down there, and it was awesome. And she did it. And I was really proud of her. And then when she's talking about, it took us 11 days. We did an 11-day stretch from Kearsarge to VBR. And during that time when she was talking about, I was like, look, it was kind of like the similar thing. I was like, we're in here in this thing. And I was like, I calm her down by offering an alternative. I said, look, we have Bishop Trail. Is it Bishop Trail?
Yeah, it was
Bishop Trail Pass. It's like it's like 19 miles up. I was like, we have that there. Let's just make it there. And if you want to get off right there, we can do that. So I knew if I offered her like a way out, like it would calm her down a little bit, not make her feel so boxed in. By the time we got there, she was good to go. She worked through it. But that was a pretty hard time for everybody on trail, because even I was going through some stuff. Like, morale was kind of low for both of us. And, and so, but we did it. We made it. We made the best of it. And we didn't tear each other's heads off, because we have hiking to fall back on if we have to go through some things. And so, but we did it, and she did it. And we did, by the time we got to, I knew by time, lead mining, when we got sick with COVID, when we were off trail for that long, because prior to that, we took like 4 days off in Mammoth. Yeah. With like her family, and like we were having a good time. And so by then it was like almost 2 weeks. And in the back of my head, I kind of already, I had the feeling as her hiking partner that it might be it. Like, it's come. And it was in season, because up to that point, we enjoyed each other so much. We love hiking, but we also love taking this together. We took a ton of zeros, and not just zeros. Yeah. We took triples, quadruples, and we don't care. It was amazing. Yeah. It was awesome. And we probably took, I would guess, probably no. At least it was at least 2 months of zeros. We hiked probably a total of 3 months and took like a total of 2 months of zeros. And it was totally worth it. It was awesome. So a lot of the people that we were around, like, kind of scooched up a lot more. Mm-hmm. And it was towards the end of the pack, and we were around our friends. Pretty desolate. Our friend Still Rob is still there, which is pretty right. As a matter of fact, that guy's a lunatic. Still Rob, if you're listening, you're a freaking wacko, because he is still on trail. Yeah. He is still on freaking trail. He couldn't go to the terminus. He had to turn around like everybody else, and he's in Oregon right now, still hiking. Yeah. That guy's a lunatic. Yeah. Yeah, he's a total scumbag, degenerate. I love him. And so, like, by the time we got to Lee Vining, I kind of knew that. We jumped back on trail, and when we got to Tuolumne, we hiked out to Tuolumne to that little bridge. What's the name of that bridge?
I don't know, but it's only
very beautiful little bridge, like 5 miles out from Tuolumne Northbound. Beautiful little, just gorgeous. Yeah. And I was like, look, we're 5 miles away. Do you want to continue this, or I was trying to offer her another out just in case. I wanted to check in on her. I know we're good to go. So we kept going, and I got to tell you, that last 75-mile stretch of trail from Tuolumne to Sonora Pass, nar. Pure nar. Nothing, even Whitney, everything compared to that last 75 miles of trail was nothing compared to this gnarly piece of trail called Yosemite Wilderness. That thing sucked. Talk about embracing the suck.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to get high in the morning to deal with the pain because it was a pain cave all freaking day long. Yeah. That trail was so gnarly. So at the point when she gave me her decision, I'm already like, okay, I'm already making plans to do something after trail, and I'm hurting so much. You know, like getting off the Sonora Pass is totally cool. And so, and as far as like the trail goes, I got everything that I wanted emotionally, mentally. It feels like I completed the trail. We did our hike. That to us was our through hike, and it was the best experience of my life. 100 frickin' %. Number one, numero uno. And it felt like a through hike, and it still will feel. It was a freaking through hike.
I mean, we were out there for almost 5 months.
My definition of a through hike is completely changed at this point, and I think we can go into this a little bit further into detail later because we've had a lot of discussions about this with other hikers. So it was a good choice, and it was the right choice, and I'm very content with that. Yeah. It was a good time.
And do you feel an obligation or a desire to finish the PCT?
Desire, yes.
Desire, yes.
Yeah, and I guess a little bit of obligation. I personally, even though I was the one who started this, I feel like I have unfinished business. I know he does.
Yeah, there is.
But I also feel like we definitely did our hike. I'm not regretting it at all. And it's like a fun new adventure that we can hit at prime time, hopefully not during fire season.
Yeah, we can hit it up whenever we want, which is really cool. So I think next time we're definitely going to finish the remaining part of that segment together. Yeah. And then we want to actually hike the first 150 miles that we didn't hike together at some point. Yeah. But that's for a later time. And then at some point I would like to attempt that trail at my pace solo. And when I do that, I'm going to it kind of feels weird saying this on a podcast, but I'm just going to say it. I'm going to rock it solo next time. Totally different gear. My pace. I'm definitely going to attempt a yo-yo on that thing at my pace for sure.
Wow. You just spoke it into existence. There's pressure now.
Yeah. There's pressure to do it now. So like I really told too many people that because there's a lot of expectation when you say something like that. But I know if I start early enough, I know I could do it. I know I could. Yeah. After hiking what I hiked, and knowing what my body can do, like I know I could do it. Yeah. There's no doubt in my mind, and I will do it. Okay. So yeah. So there's unfinished business for sure. Yeah,
we have more plans on the PCT for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Hey guys, you know where we are right now?
Oh, is it the pro tip inside? Oh my God, I forgot the name of it. Yes, I know what time it is. It's the pro tip time.
Pro tip insight of the week.
Yeah. That's right. It's the pro tip insight of the week, and we get 2 for 1 this week. So who wants to go first with their trail wisdom?
Sure. Yeah. So, hikers, we love to talk about our pooping habits. I got a tip for you guys. Doggy bags.
Oh, yes.
You pick up your paper and you put it in a Ziploc bag. You never get your hands wet. Super lightweight. Doesn't smell.
Doggy bags.
Doggy bags are the way. Awesome.
That was a game changer. Yeah. I got that from her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Super light. You can find them anywhere. And like, you pick up your crap paper, your pockets, and it's like so easy. Yeah. It's way. I love it.
Yeah. Best way.
P-cloths and doggy bags.
That's keeping it classy here.
Yes. All right. How about you, 52?
My pro tip would be, especially, I think this pro tip is for anybody who has not attempted a long trail before. I would say be flexible and keep an open mind. Keep an open mind on what a through hike is to you. Yeah. Because the through hike could come in many different, many forms. It could, many different miles. It could be 100 miles. It could be 200 miles. It could be 1,000, 5,000. Keep a very open mind on what your through hike will be, because you could probably it will change out there, and you have to be flexible. Because if you're not, you're going to be very I think you set yourself up for disappointment if you're not flexible in that way. So my pro tip is just open mind on what a through hike is to you.
Joey, I think you're exactly right. You've got to be flexible out there, especially when you're talking about a long trip. It's not going to go as planned. You're going to have to roll with the punches and adjust on the fly. Absolutely.
100%. Yeah.
Okay, so there you have it. That's it. This episode is just about in the books. Hope our listeners enjoyed our time with Area 52 and Crunch. Want to thank them for joining us this week. Guys, how can our listeners keep up with you on social media, and where can they find updates on your latest adventures?
Should I send yours? You're the most updated.
Yeah, but give me yours too.
Okay, well, if you want to follow me on Instagram, I don't really have a lot on there, but you can follow me. It's alyssa.rose95. Just a picture of me, I think, on the aqueduct. So.
Oh, that was so good. Hiking the aqueduct was so radical. And mine is just really easy. Instagram, Trail Junction. It's a little private account, but if you're a hiker, maybe we could follow each other some. So, yeah.
Okay. Remember to check out the pod on social media as well. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And if you've got comments or clips you want to share, you can send it to me at johnfreakinmuir@gmail.com.
The Adventure Media Recommendation.
Crunch and Area 52, I'm also looking to you to share a recommendation for a book, a movie, documentary, some kind of adventure media to keep our listeners connected to the trail. Call this our Adventure Media Recommendation. What do you have for us?
Well, a book I read before I got on trail, which I think is kind of becoming a cult classic, is Carrot Quinn's Through Hiking Will Break Your Heart. That was kind of the book that really nailed it in for me, that I was for sure going to be doing it.
Yeah, I still have to read that. I heard it's very good.
It's good. It's good. It's one of the first ones I read too. Well done.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I would say I really enjoy Habitat stuff. So if I could recommend like a YouTuber, like I would definitely recommend him. He's the real frickin' deal.
Yeah.
Good morning, you frickin' sunshines. Like he did that a few times in a row. And I actually enjoyed some of the media I really enjoyed. Well, your podcast, obviously. Let's not forget that. And
thank you.
Journeys North was a really good book. I enjoyed Journeys North. That was a great book. Mm-hmm. I really got lost in that story. I could picture it. It was just, I love the way Barney Scout wrote that book.
Yeah.
Or Scout, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Barney Scout, man, he did a fantastic job. Really, really well done.
Yeah.
And have you been following Ibitat's Instagram feed lately?
Yeah, off and on. He's in Scotland, I believe.
He's in Scotland right now. Yeah, some amazing pictures from Scotland.
Yeah. He's
He was kind of a way for us to bond at the beginning, because I like Ibitat too, so we would both make Ibitat jokes at the beginning. Cool. Yeah.
Nice.
What have we not asked you?
Okay, in our final segment, before we wrap things up, what have I not asked you that you're dying to tell us about? I know we covered a lot of ground, but I think there's still a lot left to be told that we may have to save it for another episode. But you want to touch on anything else we missed?
I'll touch on it very briefly. One of my favorite pieces of equipment, everybody, pee bottles, Gatorade pee bottles, game changer out there. Okay, guys, if you have male body parts, Gatorade bottles, game changer. So you don't have to leave your tent ever. So I will never leave home without it.
Just don't get the bottles mixed up the next day.
Oh, yes.
We've got a story for that too.
Got a story for that, yes.
All right. Hey, that's a wrap from the John Freaking Muir studio. Any shout outs to friends and family?
Oh, totally. You want to make some shout outs to you got to mention your dad.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I do. It's got to be my dad, Dan. He literally met me at every town stop until Hiker Town.
Awesome.
He lives in California, so he was just coming out and checking on me and bringing me snacks and helping us resupply, and even gave us a hitch in Banning where it's impossible. It was my stepdad for sure.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to him too. Totally awesome dude.
Yeah.
My kids and my folks, I love them to death, and my friends out there. If you're listening to this, everyone I met on trail, I love y'all.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You know who you are.
Nicely done. Thank you for tuning in. Always remember the trail is the trail. It doesn't care if you want to go downhill. It doesn't care if it's almost dark and you're looking for a campsite. It doesn't even care if you're worrying about another scorpion climbing across your face in the middle of the night. The trail is the trail. Embrace the suck.
Embrace the suck. Yes.